Hello, everybody. Bigfoot Michigan Rob here, BMR. Before I get started, first and foremost, happy birthday to Brandy Butcher from the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast. Happy birthday, Brando, if you're watching this. Thanks to everybody for coming on in and watching this. You're going to like this. Before I get started, if you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, if not already. I have 3 live shows, everybody. Tuesday night, 9 o'clock in the East with Krista from the Blondes and the Booze. Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock in the East, brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And Saturday nights, Saturday nights, we've been doing this for a couple months now. It's taking off. It's very, very fun, very popular. It's simply called Late Night. It's myself, Kristen, Brandy from the Booze, Tex from Texas Front Porch, Monica Rollins from Our Paranormal World, and sometimes we get a pop-in surprise guest. We break down and talk about all things paranormal, cryptid, the bizarre, the strange, break down stories, cases, whatever, and it's a lot of fun. It's midnight, 11 Central. Thanks for that. Please like, share, and subscribe. I've got to tell you, every once in a while, I like to drop stories about classic Bigfoot. Oftentimes, I think that people, of course, there's the classic Patterson-Gimlin film. We all know about that. But you got to remember, Bigfoot has been around since 1700s, 1800s, since some people suggest since the beginning of time. Of course, that depends on your belief system. Debatable, but listen, it's been here. And oftentimes you talk about encounter stories or experiences from 1980, 1990, blah, 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 2000. We got to remember, they were pioneers in this well before any of us were born. And sometimes I think we lose focus on that. So I like every once in a while to pull it together for y'all. I think it's important. It's important to me anyway. If you are a staunch researcher or avid Bigfoot fan, you might have heard this before. And I got to tell you, I give this guy a lot of balls, a lot of credit. This is William Roe. William Roe, actually, in 1959, went down to the city of Edmonton in the province of Alberta, Canada, and in front of the clerk, the county governmental clerk house, if you will, told his story and had a witness, signed it, and made it public record. Now, this story is made a public record, but I'll give credit where credit's due, of course, to the William Roe. And I think you might find this in one of the John Green's books as well, as I was perusing the internet for you guys to provide this classic. So, again, thanks for coming on in, and I'm going to get on with it. Again, this is William Roe. Affidavit and his story in front of witnesses at the county clerk house. Ever since I was a small boy back in the forests of Michigan, I have studied the lives and habits of wild animals. Later, when I supported my family in northern Alberta by hunting and trapping, I spent many hours observing the wild the wild and all the things that Mother Nature provides us. It really fascinated me. But the most incredible experience I ever had with a wild creature occurred near a little town called Tete Jaune Cache, British Columbia, about 80 miles west of Jasper, Alberta. I had been working on the highway near Tete Jaune Cache for about 2 years in October of 1955. I decided to climb 5 miles up Mica Mountain to an old deserted mine just for something to do. I came in sight of the mine about 3 o'clock in the afternoon after a very easy climb. I had just come out of a patch of low brush into a clearing when I saw what I thought was a grizzly bear in the brush on the other side. I had shot a grizzly near that spot the year before. This one was only about 75 yards away, but I didn't want to shoot it. for I had no way of getting it out. Getting it out, you guys, I don't know what he means by that. So I sat down on a small rock and watched, my rifle in my hands. Apparently couldn't get his rifle out. I don't know. I could see part of the animal's head and the top of one shoulder. A moment later, it raised up and stepped out into the opening. Then I saw it was no bear. This, to the best of my recollection, is what the creature looked like and how it acted as it came across the clearing directly towards me. My first impression was that of a huge man about 6 feet tall, almost 3 foot wide, and probably weighing somewhere near 300 pounds. It was covered from head to toe with dark brown, silver tipped hair. But as it came closer, I saw by its breasts that it was female. The Mica Mountain Sasquatch. He drew a picture for his daughter. Yet his torso was not curved like a female's. His broad frame was straight from shoulder to hip. Its arms were much thicker than a man's arms and longer, reaching almost to his knees. His feet were broader proportionately than a man's, about 5 inches wide at the front and tapering off much thinner at the heels. When it walked, it placed the heel of its foot down first, and I could see the gray-brown skin or hide on the soles of its feet. It came to the edge of the brush that I was hiding in, within 20 feet of me, and squatted down on its haunches. Reaching out its hands, it pulled the branches of brushes toward it and stripped the leaves with its teeth. Its lips curled flexibly around the leaves as it ate. I was close enough to see that its teeth were white and even. The shape of this creature's head somewhat resembled that of an egg or oblong. The head was higher at the back than at the front. The nose was broad and flat. The lips and chin protruded farther than its nose, but the hair that covered it, leaving bare only the parts of its face around the mouth, nose, and ears. It made it resemble an animal as much as that as a human. None of this hair, even on the back of its head, was longer than an inch, and that its face was much shorter. Its ears were shaped like a human's ears, but its eyes were small and black like a bear's, and its neck also was unhuman, thicker and shorter than any man's I'd ever seen. As I watched this creature, I wondered if some movie company was making a film at this place, and that what I saw was an actor made up to look partly human and partly animal. But as I observed it more, I decided it would be impossible to fake such a specimen. Anyway, I learned later there was no such company near that area, nor, in fact, did anyone live up Mica Mountain, according to the people who lived in Tete Jaune Cache. Finally, the wild thing must have got my scent, for it looked directly at me through an opening in the brush. A look of amazement crossed its face. It looked so comical at the moment I had to grin. Still in a crouched position, it backed up 3 or 4 short steps away, then straightened up to its full height and started to walk rapidly back the way it had come. For a moment, it watched over me, its shoulder as it went, not exactly afraid, not at all, but as though it wanted to it acted like it wanted absolutely no contact with anything strange, and I probably was the strange one. The thought came to me that if I shot it, I would possibly have a specimen of great interest for scientists the world over. I had heard stories of the Sasquatch, the giant hairy Indians that lived in the legends of British Columbia, and also many claim are still fact alive today. Maybe this was a Sasquatch, I told myself. I leveled my rifle. The creature was still walking rapidly away, again turning his head to look in my direction. I lowered the rifle. Although I have called the creature it, I felt now that it was a human being, and I knew I would never forgive myself if I killed it. Just as it came to the other path of brush, it threw its head back and made a peculiar noise that seemed to be half laugh and half language, in which I can only describe as a kind of a whine. Then it walked from the small brush into a stand in the pines. I stepped out in the opening and looked across a small ridge just beyond the pine to see if I could see it again. It came out on the ridge a couple hundred yards away from me, tipped its head back again, and again emitted the only sound I had already heard it make. But was this half laugh, half language? What was it trying to convey to me? I wondered. I don't know. It disappeared. I never saw it again. I wanted to find out if it lived on vegetation entirely or ate meat as well, so I went down and looked for signs. I found it in 5 different places, and although I examined it thoroughly, could not find no hair or shells or bugs or insects. So I believe that this particular creature was strictly vegetarian. I found one place where it had slept for a couple nights under a tree. Now the nights were cool up the mountain, at this time of year especially, and yet it had not used a fire. I found no sign that it possessed even the simplest of tools, nor a single companion while in this place. Whether this was a Sasquatch, I don't know. It would always remain a mystery to me unless another one is found. And that's the affidavit signed by William Roe, Alberta, Columbia, excuse me. And of course, I give the guy a lot of credit, you guys. I thought that was great. I heard that story, I think, before, but I thought I had to share it with you guys. Again, if you're really staunch into Bigfoot, you might have heard this, but I might have heard it many years ago. I thought it was appropriate to share to you guys because, again, like I say, you got to remember Bigfoot has been here well before any of us watching this video, right? It's important to recognize the origins. And I got to tell you, stories you get from the 1800s, 1900s, I give the people a lot of credit. They were seeing things out there. I think the story is credible. I think it's plausible. And for a person to go down and sign an affidavit like Mr. Rowe did, you believe he saw something. Do you think he saw a Sasquatch? BMR thinks he did. What's your thoughts? Leave a comment, like, share, subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Happy birthday to Brandy. See us tonight at midnight when the gang would come on. We got a good show planned for you tonight. I am Bigfoot Michigan Rob. You have a fantastic day. Until next time, I'm out.